Mr. Speaker, for some, back to regularly scheduled programming. For some, the holiday break was a chance to rest, to see family, to do the important work in community. But for this Prime Minister, it was a chance again to flaunt the rules and demonstrate just how out of touch he is. Let me start by saying that this Prime Minister has bad judgment. We've seen it. This is a guy who thought it would be a good idea to dress in blackface, to dress up in costumes on a business trip, to flagrantly and blatantly break the ethics laws multiple times, and to provide trust in his ministers who do exactly the same thing. But we're still shocked to see him last month accept a free luxury stay valued at over $84,000. Mr. Speaker, $84,000 is more than the average family makes in a year. It's the sum that could buy 20,000 meals for a homeless shelter. It's the sum that translates to over $9,000 a night, and I would be very interested in learning from the Prime Minister at a future question period, what $9,000 a night might buy. But I would be even more interested in learning why he didn't have the common sense to refuse that free stay, knowing just how ethically dubious and out of touch it is. And look, it's evidenced, of course, by the PMO changing their story on 3 times on who paid for the luxury vacation and when. But let me say this, and I think the Canadians would agree. The Prime Minister has every right to take some time off, as do all Canadians. But this luxury vacation, its cost, its size, its magnitude is just another example of conveniently deciding to set aside any personal or professional principles to profit from his status in office. And it further proves that he is simply out of touch, and it underlies that he understands nothing about the Canadian middle class. The fundamental truth is that the Prime Minister, who is so comfortable in the lap of luxury, cannot pretend to understand Canadians that are struggling. And it's evidenced by this bill that we have seen in this House that fails to meet the needs of the middle class, to meet the needs of struggling Canadians from coast to coast to coast who tell their MPs, and I'm sure that they hear it on the other side, of their struggles. Now, we have rent prices that have doubled. We've seen the reports throughout Christmas. Housing prices have doubled under this government. The cost of home heating has doubled. The price of groceries has increased 25% this year, all after 8 years of this Liberal government led by this Prime Minister. The Prime Minister says that Canadians from all walks of life who are struggling because of statistics like this are just grumpy. That's what he said in a year-end interview. And I have to say to the Prime Minister, grumpy is something that happens when perhaps your private jet breaks down or the custom sock store runs out of your favorite pair. What's happening right now is not people being grumpy. It's people that are faced with the fear and anxiety that comes with thinking about the survival of their families, and people confronting a reality that their generation or their kids might not be better off than they were. That's real fear and anxiety out in the Canadian public right now. People fear their lives in the face of violent crime that is up 39% since 2015. Gang-related crime that's doubled. People are scared when they are faced with the highest murder rate in 30 years. People in the GTA can't even park their car in a laneway because auto theft is up 50%. In just 2 years, it's up 217% since he's come to office. That's if they're lucky enough to even have a laneway at all, because to buy a home in Toronto, you need to commit nearly 85% of your income just for housing costs. Under this Prime Minister, Canada is still on track to have the worst economic growth out of 40 OECD countries, while inflation and high interest rates take more money out of Canadians' pockets and off their paychecks. Housing remains unaffordable thanks to the refusal to force gatekeepers to get out of the way and actually build homes. On top of this, it is the former immigration minister who broke our immigration system, overwhelmed our housing market with policies that, according to his own cabinet colleague, the current immigration minister, caused the system to get out of control. Despite this, and as usual, people fail upwards in this government. And that minister's failure was recognized when he became the new housing minister, expected to fix the problem that they in fact created over the last 8 years. People, 2 million people a month visit food banks just to put a decent meal on the table. Or worse, they go without. The response to all of this is the fall economic statement. It's an anemic response to a country that so many beyond these walls recognize anymore. We know the source of the misery, and we all want it to be over. It's out of control government spending that drives up the cost of the goods that we buy and the interest that we pay. It's the out of control taxes that make it more unaffordable to buy a home, to put gas in the car, to buy groceries. It's the out of control bureaucracy that makes it harder to build things and create good paying jobs. So the solution is, of course, to cut spending, to cut taxes, to cut the bureaucracy, but instead this bill will continue the deficit spending that is putting us way beyond our means. And now Canadians are realizing that he is just not worth the cost. But this is what we expect. This is what we get after 8 years of this Liberal government. We should now expect that the government does the opposite of the rational thing. We should expect that this Prime Minister is going to remain detached from the everyday realities and ignore every single point of view that differs from his own. The country needs a lot of change after 8 years. We cannot entrust the people who have gotten us into this mess to get us out of this mess. And after a cabinet retreat in a downtown luxury hotel about the middle class, of course, far away from anyone in the middle class, and after a Christmas where Canadians actually cut back without anyone over there taking notice, my Conservative colleagues and I are looking forward to a day where we can see a fall economic statement that actually addresses the misery that Canadians have been telling us about every single time that we are at home in our communities. There is going to be a clear choice. You can have the Liberals that will raise your taxes and inflate regulation and red tape and pump up inflation and interest rates and let crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder run rampant. Or you can have Conservatives with a simple plan of axing the tax. We're going to build homes, we're going to fix the budget, and we're going to stop crime. That will be the future choice for Canadians. And it's a future where housing is affordable, where food is affordable, where communities are safe, a future where our nation is strong at home and back to being respected abroad. And we know that that future is possible because we knew it before. Life wasn't like this before this government, and life will not be like this when they are gone.
Well said.
Questions and comments. Question commentaire, the honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's great to see my friend and neighbour in riding stand in this House and speak on the fall economic statement. And again, to you, the honourable member from Thornhill, my condolences on your father's passing. Mr. Speaker, in the city of Vaughan, or a few months ago, we announced an investment of $59 million from the Housing Accelerator Fund to assist the City of Vaughan in accelerating and speeding up the approval and development of projects, housing projects for the homes, for the individuals that live in our city and the families that are moving to our city. About 7,000 to 10,000 people a year move to the City of Vaughan. The honourable member is well aware of this. And much like the honourable member at one time worked in a prior administration where they collaborated with the provincial government to announce the building of the subway that is now in the City of Vaughan, our government has collaborated with the City of Vaughan for a $59 million investment. Does this honourable member not agree with this investment that will benefit the City of Vaughan, the residents, current and future, that will live in the members' riding, my riding, and the other members' riding, please?
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the member opposite and my neighbor standing in fancy photo ops with the mayors and the housing minister making announcements. But the homes haven't been built in Vaughan. In fact, under 8 years of this prime minister, rent has doubled in Vaughan. The price of a house has almost doubled in Vaughan. The price of a mortgage interest rate payment has doubled in Vaughan. And it used to take 25 years to pay off a mortgage in Vaughan, and now it takes most people in the GTA 25 years to save for a down payment. So I'm not sure why the member opposite is patting himself on the back, but I will not support his fancy photo apps. We will get houses built. We will get the private sector to put shovels in the ground.